Hello everyone and welcome to Blaugrana Everything and welcome back to the channel and welcome to a match review as we look back at FC Barcelona's 1-0 victory away at the Santiago Bernabeu against Real Madrid. That's right, Tiki Taka Cholo rode up once again and dropped another one piece in a big game. We saw him do this to the real Cholo, against Atletico Madrid, and this time around he went a step further doing it against Ancelotti because Real Madrid had a grand total of 0 shots on target. 0 shots on target for Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, despite them having more possession. I mean, just look at these stats. 65% possession for Real Madrid, only 35 for Barcelona. The crazy part here is Barcelona could have actually won by more here. Could have won like 2-0 or even 3-0. So it was a crazy day. I was on edge for like almost the entire time, and I guess that's how it goes when Barca do the unexpected in those weird circumstances. This victory had a lot of shades of the 4-0 from last season, which I did reference in my preview. I mean, for this game, I did talk about the fact that last time Xavi did manage to put 4 past Real Madrid with a less than ideal squad at his hands. And this time around again, he managed to shut Real Madrid down and he got a very big 1-0 victory. It's an important victory because of the fact that we finally snapped that losing streak we were on. We won a 2-game losing streak. We've snapped it. And the fact that we did it against Real Madrid in what was possibly the worst kind of circumstance for Barca, that was pretty good. And I owe Xavi Hernandez probably an apology because I said he should not go with the 4 midfielder system. But what do I know, guys? I make videos talking about football on YouTube, alright? I'm not an actual coach. Xavi is, and Xavi showed that when his options are limited, he actually can cook. He actually can get results. Anywho, we're going to talk about the game and how it went. Obviously here we'll focus more on the negatives and positives here. We're going to show you, of course, how Barca set up as well, and I will give my team rating and the manager rating. I haven't done those in a while. I'm going to do that, and I'll give you a man of the match. And this time around I wasn't too sure who to go with for a man of the match. Let's go straight and talk about how the two teams set up. And FC Barcelona set up with, like I had said, the 4 midfielders, and it was Xavi, Frenkie de Jong, it was Kessie and Sergio Busquets in that midfield, with Rafinha and Ferran Torres up front. The back 4, which we would have wanted to start in this game, wasn't going to be possible because guess what? Last minute we got the news that Christensen had an ankle injury, so he didn't even play in this. Alright, no Danish Maldini for FC Barcelona, but Marcos Alonso did step in and step up. I think playing with a deep line, playing in a deep block suits Marcos Alonso as opposed to playing with a high line like we saw against Manchester United. It was a good performance by Alonso here and didn't really our defense. Anywho, Real Madrid on the other hand set up like this, more or less what we were expecting, except we didn't see Tchouaméni start here. It was instead Camavinga. I'm guessing maybe Tchouaméni can't play more than 20 minutes yet because we did see him come on for like the last 15 minutes against Atletico de Madrid as well. Ancelotti still trying to ease him in. And let's go ahead and talk some negatives and positives. Now, of course, there were some negatives here. I do feel Barca could have actually done a bit better. I'm going to be a bit harsh here on Rafinha because I feel like there were moments when he could have been making those winger runs. You know what I mean? Those runs which are just made specifically to stretch the pitch, not necessarily that you're going to get a pass. You just make that run so you can stretch the pitch, you can create space for your teammate who's on the ball and give him a bit more time to decide what he needs to do. There were quite a few occasions where I saw Rafinha wasn't doing that when he could have done it, and really he should have been doing it considering that he was up against Nacho and not Ferland Mendy. And of course, there was also the fact that Barcelona at some moments were trying a bit too much to play out from the back. Now, why am I saying this? There were a few moments where they had a clear option to clear the ball and there was really no one in front of the player on the ball to be able to play the ball to. Like, you couldn't give that pass to your Ferran Torres who was up front. You couldn't play that ball to him. And instead of just, hoofing it out for throw-in in the opponent's half, there were some times when the passes would go back infield. Like, there's a time when Rafinha tried to find Busquets and Busquets tried to be cute on the ball and they lost the ball and Real Madrid just kept on cycling the ball. This is when Real Madrid was keeping Barca under a lot of pressure. And I think that's something which does need to be addressed. Other than that, I think the other negative I'd probably point out is that we were not using Balde enough to exploit Carvajal, because there were quite a few moments where Balde did have some real estate in front of him and he had just had Carvajal really alone who he was going to beat because Toni Kroos wasn't really doing much covering in this match. There were moments like those where I felt Barcelona could have exploited that space and they could have created more chaos and more opportunities for them, but they didn't do that, and I felt that was a missed opportunity. Okay, let's move on and talk some positives. And of course, we're going to start with that defense. Once again, Barcelona getting a 1-0 victory solely because of the fact that, Ronald Araujo is probably one of the best defenders. No, sorry. Ronald Araujo is probably the best defender right now on form in the world. I mean, how many people do you know who can completely erase Vinicius from a game? Vinicius Jr. was completely erased. He did not exist. And it's crazy that Real Madrid didn't exactly know what to do about that, because I think they're so used to playing through Vinicius and Benzema that when, Benzema is tied up with Busquets and Koundé and Vinicius is just swallowed up by Araujo's pocket, they have no clue what to do with the ball. All they can do is try to recycle it infield, then maybe play it out to Carvajal and hope he puts in a good cross. And they did that time and time again, and it really didn't yield anything. That was mostly because of our defense. Talking about the defense, I'm going to talk also about Marc-Andre ter Stegen, because I feel like this is a performance where ter Stegen was making all the correct judgments, He knew when to come to claim the crosses. He knew when to try and hold the ball. He knew when to punch it. He was distributed the ball really well. There were only about 2 occasions, I think, in the entire 90 minutes where I saw him, kick a ball out of play because he misplaced a pass. But generally, he was finding his targets with all of his passes, playing out from the back. And that's really huge when you've got a team that's trying to suffocate you the way Real Madrid did, especially in that first half, those first 20 minutes of the first half and first 20 of the second half as well. And I think Barca got through those so much because of how good Marc-Andre ter Stegen was in making his judgment. The final positive, I think, was the midfield, because at the end of the day, this performance here today, this result, is as much about the midfield as it is about the defense. The goal came from a forward run from one of the midfielders, Kessie, who I think on the day was pretty good, despite the fact that the Matrix weren't very kind to him. If you look at any platform that usually gives player ratings, the rating on Kessie doesn't look very high. But trust me when I say that if you watch this game, you saw that he was a big part of everything Barcelona did right, in possession and out of possession as well. He was, doing his usual thing, winning free kicks, but also he was making fouls when he should have, and also just generally shutting down spaces for Real Madrid in that middle area where Modric today was just not able to have any joy. We did not see Modric, and I mean, even when he got subbed off, it was like there was no difference, like he wasn't there to begin with. Anywho, we can now go on and talk the team rating and the manager rating. And on a day like this, when your defense has been that solid, it's not like it was the type of performance where Real Madrid kept on creating chance after chance and, like Barcelona players were making heroic interceptions, last-ditch interventions, and ter Stegen was pulling off save after save. That's more what the Atletico game was like. This game was like a collective defensive performance from the entire team, because what they were doing was shutting down spaces, was closing passing lanes. And, of course, marking people like Vinicius out of the game. They did that here to perfection, I felt. And I think because of that, the team rating this time around, it's a 10, guys. It has to be a 10. Of course, they could have scored more goals. Ansu Fati decided to defend for Real Madrid because their defenders weren't doing much of a job defending. Anywho, yeah, I'm giving the team a 10 out of 10 here because they knew what they had to do. They stuck to it and they did it. And it's going to be, I think, a 10 out of 10 for Xavi as well. Like, look, when you give somebody scraps and they're able to cook a 5-star meal of sorts, you need to really appreciate that ability, okay? Sure, Xavi Hernandez isn't supposed to be a defensive-minded coach. He's not supposed to be the new Simeone, even though I call him Tiki-Taka Cholo. He's not supposed to be that. He's supposed to be, the next Guardiola or something like that. But if he is able to take a bunch of scraps, of course, this is like, I'm like hugely exaggerating the dearth of options that he had here. But if he's able to take a team that's bruised and battered, confidence-wise and also in terms of injuries, physically and mentally, and he's able to get them working together as a unit the way that they did today, to shut down the opposition and also to be able to grab a goal on a break, one of the few chances that, they got one. I think that you need to appreciate that ability, and that's what I'm doing here. Xavi Hernandez, I believe, gets a 10 out of 10. And that just leaves me now with picking a man of the match. And this was a pretty tough decision because, like I just said, the team rating was a 10 out of 10. The reason that was so is because all of the players out there did their job. And there wasn't really one standout performer, not named Araujo, out there, right? So, I am tempted to give this one to Araujo because of the fact that he did, once again, just nullify Vinicius Jr. But I'm going to give it to Araujo and one other player, that other player being Sergio Busquets, who in this match played in his 46th El Clasico, which is the most by any player in El Clasico history. And he also got his 22nd win in El Clasico, which is also the most for any player in El Clasico history. He had been tied with Gento on 21, but now he surpassed that to be on 22. And I don't know what better way there could be to celebrate that kind of, achievement than by, being named Blaugrana Everything Man of the Match. That's like the biggest honor football has to offer. Forget about all your Ballons d'Or and your the bestesses. Forget about all those things. Blaugrana Everything Man of the Match goes to Ronald Araujo and Sergio Busquets. And ladies and gentlemen, and yes, there are ladies tuned in, that is that. If this is your first time tuning in, by the way, please do hit like and subscribe. We do cover a lot of FC Barcelona content here. You can go through the playlists and the different videos that are going to be on the YouTube channel. Or if you'd rather just hear voices, you can go to the Blaugrana Everything podcast and you can hear more of this sultry voice. Anywho, I thank you once again for tuning in. Have a great day and Forza Barça.